What's up, y'all? I'm back for another video. Finally, back with another list video. Um, so I'm gonna make these every other week now, like every other Monday, because I kind of want to start having some Mondays where I do get back to doing some reviews and other stuff, and not just be doing this because this is gonna be going for a while. Because I'm barely in 2007, so then it will be 2008, which that one's gonna be fun to do though, because 2008 there was a lot. Like before we get into this one, I mean, not Batman Begins, Dark Knight, fucking the first Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Tropic Thunder was 2008. I think Zombieland was the first one was 2008 also. So it's like there was a lot that year. So that one's gonna be fun. That could be, who knows, more than this one's gonna be 11. I mean, 2007 was a pretty good year too. Like, I mean, that was like we're in the fully in the mid 2000s now, and superhero movies are kind of. I mean, Spider-Man 3, which isn't on the list, but I will mention Spider-Man 3. That in terms of like hype, that was easily the biggest movie that year. I mean, next to you could argue like the first Transformers was pretty big too, which that is on the list, by the way. But Spider-Man 3, just the hype for it, just because how great Spider-Man 2 was. It was just 2000. I mean, PS3, Xbox 360 gaming was like getting really, like at that time, like really getting advanced. Like graphically for like 2007, 2008, like the things did start to change a little bit. iPhone, I think that same year was about to come out. Linkin Park was everywhere. That What I've Done song. Like 2007 was a fun time for me. I was starting, I would have been starting middle school at that time. So yeah, it was just like, it was an interesting time. So movie wise, it was pretty good. So I managed to make 11, so that was pretty fun. I think this year was way better than 2006. 2006 just wasn't a lot. So then I'm gonna go into what I got going on for the week. Then tomorrow, I'm gonna review Evil Bong. I'm just gonna do X-Men Friday. I'll just do it Friday. And then Wednesday, I'm going to do The Prowler. Thursday will be the last Annabelle movie, Comes Home. And then Friday will be X-Men Days of Future Past. Saturday, I'm going to do a movie Steve recommended me called Ironclad. And then on Sunday should be, because I'm gunning to see Godzilla -1 like Friday. If I see, I just thought of something. I may have to just do Evil Bong next week, just because I just thought about if I see Godzilla -1 Friday, I'm going to want to talk about it Friday and not wait till like Sunday. So I might just talk about it Friday. So if I do see Godzilla -1 Friday, obviously if I manage to see it, I'm going to review that Friday night. And then Sunday we'll be doing most likely Silent Night then. And then I'll figure out what I'll do next Monday then. But I'll just do X-Men Days of Future Past tomorrow. It just makes more sense. We'll just do it tomorrow. And like I mentioned, it will be the Rogue cut. So we'll do Evil Bong like another day. Because I do want to do The Prowler. I've been saying I want to review that movie for a while. So I finally figured we had to get to it. So yeah. So that's what I got going on at least this week. But anyway, before we get into the list. Sorry, if you see me looking, I'm just looking, making sure I didn't drop my paper clip. Anyway, today we'll start off with my number 11. My number 11 is the Simpsons movie. I remember when this came out. I actually just got I had just gotten into the show at that point, And I really was like, I didn't fully understand the references at the time, but I really liked it. And I remember when that movie came out and I saw it, and I actually really fucking liked it. I remember I liked all the references. Um, and I thought this was a perfect way to do a Simpsons film. And the more I got into it, they did a good job of making it basically just a giant episode. And that's kind of what like these movies should be. If you're going to do a movie about a TV show, just make it a giant episode, Make it one giant adventure. We get Spider Pig. I remember this coming out, and 7-Eleven had the fucking the sprinkled donuts that they have in the show. They were like actually selling those at the time. I remember I'd always get those in the morning back then. And yeah, it was just like it was an event when this movie came out. It was fun, and they really did a good job at capturing the Simpsons. And I always say this to this day, that should have been it. They should have ended the show after this. There's really no reason to do more movies after. Um, I feel like this would have been a perfect way to end the show. Maybe you do like the Halloween episodes specials still. The Treehouse of Horrors, like you can do those. But this should have been it. Like this would have been a perfect way to end the show, and I just don't know why they decided to continue with it. So I definitely recommend The Simpsons, especially if you like The Simpsons. Especially, I mean, if you're one of those who likes The Simpsons and you don't like the direction it's going now, this could always be a perfect way to end it. And just in your mind, this is how it ends. And that's kind of where I'm at. So that's my number 11. My number 10 is The Simpsons movie. Man, The Simpsons movie, not The Simpsons movie, I'm fucking retarded. Super bad. Super bad. That is to me, of like that 2000s, this might be my favorite. I really think this was the perfect comedy. Not Zach Galifianakis, Jonah Hill. This is actually one of the few Michael Cera movies I actually like. I don't hate him as a person, but he just got typecasted so bad as you got to be awkward guy and everything. But actually, I felt like it worked here. I mean, McLovin, Seth Rogen was actually tolerable, but he's not why the movie was funny. It was an ensemble cast. Bill Hader, in my opinion, his partner was far funnier. I love their things as the cops. I mean, the McLovin scene is great. Emma Stone, you have a great cast. It's like a one of those, they perfectly caught that like teen feel back in the day, but it wasn't just a generic raunchy comedy, which at that point was kind of, because this was like in that era post, obviously like American Pie and Roach, like those kind of comedies throughout the early to mid 2000s, that was kind of dominating the scene. So they did a good job in this kind of time, and didn't just make it another and it's like legit a funny movie. I mean, when they go to that bar, the adult fucking party, now it's fucking, and they still fucking booze in the end. And I actually think the friendship between Seth and Evan were great. They really like. Granted, you knew who they were kind of at the time, but they did a good job at least somewhat pulling off people you could actually see. Like, these actually feel like high school kids. Like, I could buy them being high school kids back in 2007. They didn't just get like unfortunately, a lot of movies now they get people who are like, you could tell they're Hollywood and they don't actually feel like real people. They don't even act like real people. So it's but yeah, like this is the perfect comedy. So this is definitely like one of my favorites. I watch it like all the fucking time. So this to me is my favorite comedy of the 2000s. I love Tropic Thunder. Like that one's a close one too, but this one, it hits me different every time I watch it. So for sure, I'll eventually review it. I normally don't really do comedies. I just Because I don't know, like comedy movies, some of them are like I feel like they're the hard because sometimes the humor is like we don't always agree on the humor, and I don't know. I feel like they're the weirdest ones to review for me. Like I have more easier time reviewing like action, horror, sci-fi. Like I have better time reviewing those movies because I can go into the plot and the lore. Like because I'm gonna say it. I love comedies, but a lot of the time, and it's not like Beverly Hills Cop. It was also because Axel Foley was a cop. It wasn't just like a straight comedy like that. But I will eventually do some. Like I do want to do like Happy Gilmore and like Waterboy or yeah, like Superbad. So movies like this. So yeah, I'll eventually review Superbad at some point. Maybe not December because like think Christmas stuff, but maybe like January or something like that. We'll do. I'll review Superbad. So, but for number 9, it's Ghost Rider. So I have 2 Nicolas Cage movies on here, and this is one of them. And I'm gonna be honest, man. I actually really like this movie. I know it's not the greatest movie, and I said it in the video when I reviewed it at the time. My main problem is it wasn't R-rated. Ghost Rider is an R-rated character. You can't. The dude sold his Johnny Blaze sells his soul to the devil. You can't make that PG-13. But I think Nicolas Cage was fun in it. And I actually really dig the look of Ghost Rider, and that's probably the best Ghost Rider was looked in a movie. Yeah, some of the effects weren't great, but I love the way the fucking motorcycle looked. I love the way like he looked. The villain wasn't the greatest. I think that's like probably one of my more weaker points, but I really do think because he just wants to cure his father's cancer, but then yeah, he becomes Ghost Rider. I think Blackheart, that was my main problem with the movie. Like I said, but I did love seeing older, the older Ghost Rider. That was cool. Thought that was awesome. The way that ended with, Johnny on the motorcycle and then him on the fucking horse. That was fun. So yeah, we find out, yeah, Carter Slade, who was the original Ghost Rider. I love those scenes of them together. And yeah, the action was fun. Yeah, and like I said, it should have been R-rated because Ghost Rider is an R-rated character. Even the way he kills people, like the penance stare in the comics is way more violent. So that's my only thing, but that doesn't like ruin the movie or anything. I can watch it, and the second one, yeah, isn't good. Oh, I won't defend that one, but I do like the first Ghost Rider, and I even liked Eva Mendes was fun, decent love interest in the movie. It's a decent movie. They really, at least on paper, somewhat caught the Johnny Blaze story relatively good. So, and it's Nicolas Cage. That's rad. I love that scene. He gets on the bike. It's great. But we're on number 8 now, is Jet Li's War. I reviewed this years ago, but I love this movie. It has Jet Li and Jason Statham, and basically the premise was between the Yakuza and FBI agent. Actually, no, this isn't now I'm remembering my original number 8. I forgot it for a second, but this will be an honorable mention. So just consider this like 8, like B. Because I do love this movie. I love Jet Li and this was Jet Li in that like his prime when he was just in a bunch of movies. But Jason Statham was great. His partner gets killed, and he has to find out who did it. He looks into the world of the Yakuza and all that, and I think it was good, and I had fun reviewing it. I watched it like I think I watched it like a month or 2 ago, and it still holds up. I love the fight scenes in it. And like I said, Jet Li still got it. This was around 2007. This was still in his prime, so I had to put this in. I'm pretty sure that was another 2008 movie, The Forbidden Kingdom, which that will definitely be on the list for next whenever I do the 2008 list, because yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, So that's, I guess this is 8B, if you want to call it that. So my real number 8 is Rogue, the Australian crocodile movie. I love this movie. Um, my friend, I think it was my friend Blake, put me on this, and yeah, it is fucking great. Like I love Lake Placid, but this is like violent. Really, if Lake Placid was uber violent, this is what this was. I mean, the look of the crocodile looks great. The kill scenes, the scene where it attacks the boat, you know, and the people are like stuck on an island for a little bit, and, and the croc's like picking them off. And I'm gonna say it, the croc effects look amazing. Like it, they really did a good job with the effects in this. Um, and mine, like I love creature features, and this is probably my favorite crocodile, like killer croc movie. As much as I love Lake Placid, I think this one is like a more raw Lake Placid, if you want to kind of call it that. And even the final fight between the guy and the croc, where he like ends up killing it, is pretty good. So I love this movie. Pretty good crocodile movie. I definitely recommend it. Um, they really nailed the tension. It had a good score. They had, like, it had everything right. So that's my number 8. My number 7 is Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one. I know a lot of people do not like this movie. I understand, and I even have my main issues with it, like the dialogue, especially in the beginning. Like, my God, that I'm gonna skull fuck the shit out of you. Like, yeah, that shit. No. But when we get past that shit, like, I think they really did a good job with the casting of young Michael. I thought he was a genuinely creepy kid. And the scene when he killed I know the guy. I mainly know that dude as Carmen from Spy Kids. And yeah, when Michael killed him, that was a pretty brutal scene. That, like, he takes the mask off and then he just puts it on so cold, and or the scene where he kills his family. Like, granted, you could argue, like, especially the dad, stepdad, he kind of deserved it. But I will agree with some people. A lot of the characters aren't likable, but I do think Scout Taylor Compton in this one, at least mainly, I do think she was decent in it. And when they get to, sorry about that, when we get to the, like, I guess, like, the original, sorry about that, fucking hell. When we get to the original Halloween stuff, it does, like, play fine. And, but yeah, it does have a lot of negatives, but I like it. I like how visceral it is in terms of the violence. I try to mainly watch the theatrical version. There's no need. The unrated one has that really unneeded rape scene, which kind of makes Michael look like a good guy. By the way, I don't know. And I understand a lot of people's issue with the whole giving Michael a motive thing. I can understand that, because I prefer Michael without a motive, like in, the original. We don't know why he killed his sister. We don't know why he kills. Just does. So I prefer that. But because to me, I do not acknowledge Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So this is just like a one-off, like, what if story. And I think Tyler Mane did bring the physicality. So I think there is some good. So that's why, I mean, I had to put it on the list. I just felt like I had to. So that's my number 7. My number 6 is the second 28 Days Later's movie, 28 Weeks Later. I'll admit this one doesn't have as strong of a cast because, Cillian Murphy isn't in it. But I do like this one. I still think it captures the tense and the aesthetic of the first one, and its perfect continuation. I loved, like, even some of the evolved, like, with the rage virus, we get different, like, not different, but like they do try to not have the creatures look all the same. And I just love the creatures in these movies anyway. And the characters are good. You have a nice core group of characters. Like I said, it's not as strong character wise like the first one was, but I still think it was a perfect sequel. And it sucks we didn't get a third one, which would have been like 28 months later, or years later. It could have been one of those. But, I still really love this movie. And they do go a little bit into, like, the rage virus, but I like they don't go too much into it where they, like, break lore. Like, I don't need to know the whole thing, because sometimes I do just like seeing the effects of things, and it's just, oh, this is happening now. So But overall, 28 weeks later is is uh really good. It's a perfect sequel. I definitely recommend it. It's actually, if you watch them both back to back, it's perfect. Like, it works. Um, and yeah, I watch these often, especially like Halloween time. I didn't watch them this time around, but I'm definitely gonna watch them again at some point. So that's my number six. My number five is National Treasure 2, or National Treasure Book of Secrets. I love this one. I love the Ed Harris as the villain. I love that, just like, he's established in this one. The only, I guess, kind of negative is I've gotten to a point where I'm over like the whole breakup trope, where characters, like, like him and I mean, John Voight is still in this, which I love. Abigail. I loved him and their relationship in the first one. It's like, oh, let's break them up, then just to bring up. It is a bad trope that Hollywood likes to do, even back in 2007. I still love the movie though. Helen Mirren was great. Was a great addition. I love the scene where they even have to somewhat work together in the end. And yeah, it's a perfect sequel, and I love these movies. I love that they brought most of the cast back. I mean, I think, yeah, Harvey Keitel comes back and all that. It's a perfect sequel, so I definitely recommend it. Don't I've not watched one fucking episode of that shitty show that they try to do. Um, I love, like, the chemistry with all the characters, even like the chemistry between Ed Harris and Nicholas. Back, well, kind of, they worked together previously because um, both of them were in Face Off, and so, like, it just was natural. So I like, yeah, I love both movies. It's not, I think the first National Treasure is probably still the better one, but I do love this one. This one isn't like far off from the first one, in my opinion. So this is my number five. Now we're on the top four, which one of them is Transformers 2007. I understand a lot of people don't like this movie, like, especially if they like, you like the G1 stuff. Even like this one, you're not a fan of. But for me, I remember the hype for this movie because at the time, I've always been a casual Transformers fan. Like, I was definitely more of a fan as a kid than I am, like, let's say now. Like, I like Transformers. Like, that's why, like, Rise of the Beast pissed me off, because I do have a little bit more of an attachment to the Beast Wars, and then they just like fucked that up. But I did like this first one. It was like, it kind of reminded me at the time, which is kind of weird because I hate that movie now. E.T. It like it kind of had that, like, but like better, like, alien car. And at the time, Shia LaBeouf was decent lead. He was one of the few human. This is one of the few things where the human stuff was in the focus, but I think they did a good job of still making the Transformers feel important. Like, when they first arrive here on Earth, and that whole reveal scene is great. When we first get a really good look at Megatron and Optimus Prime and all the classic characters you love. You know, the whole, them going for the Allspark. I really was happy when this came out. I understand. I'm gonna say it again. Why some people do not like this movie, or like really like any of them. I do think they get worse after this. I really think it's the only really good one for me. Bumblebee was good, but I don't love it like some people do. I think Bumblebee, to be honest, that opening scene is really what people are really harping on. And Haley Steinfeld was decently, but aside from that, I think this was a stronger movie. I think there's more going on in this one. And at least the fights in this one, you could still tell what was going on. It wasn't like those fight scenes in the later ones where it was like, you don't know who's who. The only Transformer you could actually tell, and that's just because he has a distinct look, is Optimus. all the other ones in those fights in those later movies, you just couldn't tell. Especially like the Decepticons. It was bad with those. So yeah, that's my number 7. My not number 7. My number 4. My number 3 is 30 Days a Night. And yes, there is a massive plot hole that a friend of mine mentioned, and I can't unsee it now. Where like they are just killing everybody, so they're not gonna have any food left for the next 30 days. Yeah, but aside from that, I have always loved this movie. I love isolation horror, and the snow. You know, The Thing. So, and Josh Hartnett as the lead is one of my favorite things about this movie. In an Alaskan town, you know, gets invaded by, and the main vampire is the guy who plays Stryker in not Days of Future Past, in Origins, and he's good in this. He really plays a good job as the lead vampire. They at least the vampire, and I actually think this is what my ideal vampire movie is. I like the more creature style vampire, not the like romantic. I'm okay with that, like with Dracula to an extent, but like just like a vampire story, I want something like this where they're just a creature and just fucking shit up. And yeah, this movie is violent. They don't hold back on the violence. Even like there's a girl who gets the scene where the little girl that does get. I remember that got me the first time, and then obviously having to kill her, and it's like they did a good job of like showing like the effects of it. And just they really nailed the isolation. Like you really felt like it's not just like, oh, you're watching them be isolated. You almost felt isolated with them, because there's no help. You're in this small town with vampires that just taken over, So, and I even like the scene where Josh himself had to get fucking, the vampire blood so he can become, the vampire. Was a great scene, and I like that. I like the soundtrack too, just in general. Like they really did, and also good characters. Like you felt bad when the one dude like who sacrificed himself, with the kind of like bulldozer thing to so Josh and them can get away was a fucking great scene. Like you feel bad for these characters when they die. They're not just like, oh, you want them to die, whatever, So I love this one. Yeah, there's a massive plot hole, but I love it. So that's my number 3. Now we're on number 2, Trick or Treat. I reviewed this movie last month, and man, I love it. I love the way they managed to do these 3 different stories, coming together. Where in that reveal scene, like you have the principal who killed the kid. I mean, I'm not laughing at he killed the kid, but they did a good job of making that scene. Like, there's decent comedy, but there's a scene when he goes in the house and you see the neighbor, because the neighbor is the last story where we get the reveal that he was the bus driver from the story with the kids. And I really think they did a good job of like doing the stories, but also like the way they intertwine them in the end. When everything kind of comes to you. The little girl, when she lets her friends get killed by the zombies, is one of the craziest scenes, man. You think she's gonna give him the key, and then she just pushes the button and just gives them that cold stare, and they're just that is a crazy scene. Or the scene where we get the reveal that Anna Paquin and her friends were were werewolves, and you just get the one thing that was drawing the story together is Sam, it's crazy with Sam because he's the face of this movie, but he's not really like the only story where he's actually like a main factor is the last one where he attacks the bus driver in his house. But aside from that, he just he's like in the background. Like the scene where the girls turn into the werewolf and kill the principal, and he's just watching. So and then he passes by the little girl when she walks away. So it's like they have like one story that's kind of like, but aside from that, he's not a factor really until that scene. So I love this movie. It's a great Halloween movie. It's probably my second favorite Halloween movie after the original. Obviously my number 1 is 78, but this one is a good one. I think this is a good Halloween themed movie too. I definitely recommend it. It's perfect to watch on Halloween. I don't know how I feel about them doing a sequel. I I mean, it is like um an anthology story, so I guess you theoretically could do another one and just do different stories. But I don't need a second one, and especially just because I would have been for a second one, like maybe like back if they did one like let's say 2009, that would have been like 2 years after the first one. But now it's just too long. I feel like it's almost like you just leave it alone. You know, it didn't need another one. Now I don't know if it's a case they've been wanting to do this forever, and now they finally got the green light. I don't know. If it is that, then I'm hoping it's good then, because then it's like they've been wanting to do this, and at least it shows maybe they can make it good. So that's my number two. My number one is Rush Hour 3. To me, I think the first one is objectively the best Rush Hour movie, but I think 3 is the funniest one. I remember watching this the first time in the theater and I was just dying, man. Carter was at his best. The chemistry between Carter and Lee, in my opinion, is at their best in this one. You know, because they've known each other for years now. Like even like I even think it has like the end of the Rush Hour movies. You have the outtakes. I think 3 has the best outtakes. Rush Hour 1, Rush Hour 2. After all we've been through, and then he says Rush Hour 1, Rush Hour 2. Like, it's so fucking great. Like, I think the dynamic, I love this story. Also, has one of my favorite actors in it, Hiroyuki Sanada. This was actually the first movie I think I actually saw him in, was this one. Because he was the villain of the movie, and I thought he was great in it. I love the scenes where we get a lot of Lee's kind of backstory. And in my opinion, I think this is better than 2. I don't hate Rush Hour 2, but to me, that's the weakest of the 3. But yeah, I love watching Rush Hour 3. I watch like Rush Hour 1 and then sometimes don't even watch 2 and just watch this one after. I'm Brokeback Carter. Like, they couldn't do a joke like that now. So that's why I'm like talking about Rush Hour 4 really quick. I'm very iffy on, just because I don't even know if they can do the jokes from this movie, and this was 2007. So that's my fear. Is like they're going to be too scared to, because in this like PC culture we're in right now, especially with that, like they're not going to be able to do the I'm Brokeback Carter. Made out with a damn Frenchman. Like, they couldn't do that shit. You couldn't, or they can, but they won't. I'm going to reword it. They won't do that. So that's why I don't know if Rush Hour 4 will really be great. I'm hoping maybe the chemistry of Lee and Carter could carry the movie for me, but like I have more faith in Lethal Weapon 5, because if Mel Gibson's directing it, then I know that will be good. But I don't know about this one. I feel like are they going to be able to make a lot of the jokes they made, even just in Rush Hour 3? You know, like I don't think they will. You know, so I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I just don't know if they will be able to, or if they fucking are wanting to do it, because I feel like they just won't. So anyway, so that's my number one. The 2008 list will not be it. All right, I'll say it like this: if I see Godzilla Friday, then I'll review it Friday, and then I'll probably see Silent Night like Saturday night or something like that, and then I'll review Silent Night Sunday. If I do that, then maybe next Monday I'll do the 2008 list, because I do want to get to that one. 2008 was a good year. There's going to be another lull though after. 2009 was kind of, really wasn't a lot. That one's going to probably be like 2006, maybe even less, because there just wasn't the only, like, there's Inglourious Bastards, Watchmen. That's my favorite year. That's gonna be my number one is Watchmen, but Watchmen, and then I got Inglourious Bastards, so that's like 2. Because that year you had like Revenge of the Fallen, X-Men Origins. It's not gonna be on the list. Sorry. I think I didn't hate it. I still like some of the stuff in it, but rewatching it doesn't hold up as a movie really. So, 2009 is gonna be a little bit hard, but 2008 I do want to get to. So, like I said, if I see Godzilla -1 and review it Friday, then I'll we'll do Silent Night on Sunday, and then my Monday will be free. But if not, then it'll be the Monday after. So, but anyway, I am having fun with these lists though. Tomorrow I will be reviewing X-Men Days of Future Past, which this is probably my favorite X-Men movie. I love X2, but the way this movie is able to blend, the current and at that time current and the classic cast together, they did a really good job. I love the scenes with Wolverine and past Xavier. Just in general, I love the scenes in the past. So, yeah. So I'm gonna have fun reviewing this one. I love in the Rogue Cut. I remember watching this the first time, and that was a crazy added to it. I love the theatrical. I think this is one of those you can watch the theatrical version and still be good. But I think the Rogue Cut is the definitive cut in the movie, and I actually think this is the best that we got of Anna Paquin's Rogue. So I'm gonna have fun reviewing this one. And to me, this is the last of like the main X-Men movies, and then Logan is like the last of that story. So, but anyway, guys, talk to y'all later. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all later.